Prime Minister Eric Joyce.
Number one, sir.
I've been asked to reply. Mr. Speaker, before listing my right honourable friend's engagements, I'm sure the whole House will wish to join me in sending our profound condolences to the family and friends of the two Royal Marines who were killed in Afghanistan on Sunday, Lieutenant John Thornton and Marine David Marsh. We owe them both a deep debt of gratitude. Mr. Speaker, as the House will be aware, my right honourable friend the Prime Minister is today in Bucharest, Romania, for the NATO summit meetings of heads of state and government. All-party group, and he is absolutely right that the whole House will express its concern and solidarity for the people of Zimbabwe and that they should have their democratic choice respected and recognised. Honourable members on all sides of the House have raised the plight of the people in Zimbabwe. 4 million people have been forced to flee that country. The average life expectancy is now down to 34 and the economy is in ruins. But today, the eyes of the world are on Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe stands at a turning point. Robert Mugabe must respect the decision of his people.
Mr. Speaker, I join the Leader of the House in paying tribute to Lieutenant John Thornton and Marine David Marsh, who were killed in southern Afghanistan on Sunday, and to the soldier who was killed in Iraq last Wednesday, a further reminder of the sacrifices and service of our armed forces. And on a lighter note, I'd like to congratulate the Leader of the House on being the first female Labour member ever to answer Prime Minister's questions. She must be proud, 3 decades on, to be following in the footsteps of Margaret Thatcher. Who we on this side of the House and the Prime Minister so much admire. And just one question on Zimbabwe before the Foreign Secretary's statement at 12:30. Will she make it clear on behalf of the Prime Minister that Britain wants to send the clearest possible signal that the world will be there to help the people of Zimbabwe, on top of what she's just rightly said, and that there will be a comprehensive plan to assist them whenever they are able to move away from corruption and dictatorship to the rule of law and democracy?
Well, I thank him for his congratulations, but I would ask him, why is he asking the questions today? Because he is not the shadow leader of the House. The shadow of the leader of the House is sitting next to him. Is this the situation in the modern Conservative Party, that women should be seen but not heard? And if I may, perhaps I could offer the shadow leader of the House a bit of sisterly advice. She should not let him get away with it. And on the question of Zimbabwe, I absolutely endorse the comments that the honourable gentleman has made, and I endorse them on behalf of the government. This government is the second biggest donor to Zimbabwe. We stand ready to step up that support, and we will be working with the international community. But there is a particular focus on South Africa and Africa to help find a solution to this problem. And my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, has spoken to Thabo Mbeki, he's spoken to Kofi Annan, and will work to make sure that the pressure is on Robert Mugabe to respect the democratic choice of his people.
Hague.
Well, turning to domestic issues, I was going to be nice to the Right Honourable. And she might still need advice on what to wear. If she thinks her constituents might kill her, she should look behind her. But is it not the case? Is it not the case that contrary to what the Prime Minister said on Monday night, 5.3 million mainly lower-paid families will be worse off this weekend, as demonstrated by the Institute of Fiscal Studies and as confirmed by a Treasury official to the Treasury Select Committee. An issue where that after the meeting of Labour MPs on Monday night, where this point was made, One minister said Gordon didn't seem to understand what they were talking about and kept insisting that nobody would lose out. He didn't seem to understand why voters were unhappy with it and gave the impression he was living on another planet. Wasn't that minister speaking the truth? And was it by any chance her?
I think one thing we do recognise, the tax burden under this government is not as high. The tax burden under this government is not as high as it was under the government of which he was a part. And I would also say, when it comes to standards of living, when we came into government, this country was the worst amongst the G7 for average income per head in this country, and after 10 years of Labour government, we are second from the top, and we stand by that record.
If she thinks the tax burden is declining in this country, then the government is even more out of touch than anybody thought it might have been. The cost of living is rising. Real earnings have fallen for 2 years. The government have chosen this moment to hit 5 million, mainly lower-paid families, to kick them when they are down. And let me read to her what another minister said on the record this time, the health minister, who said that people feel the government is losing touch with what fairness means to the majority who work hard, play by the rules, and are feeling squeezed by rising utility bills, the cost of petrol and rising council tax. Doesn't she have even a little bit of sympathy with the view of that minister that people feel the government is out of touch?
I do think it's right to recognise that with the international financial turbulence and uncertainty, that people are apprehensive, and they need to be able to look to the government to have the determination that we will make sure that our economy is as resilient as possible as this country faces difficult and challenging economic circumstances. And it's because we are in touch and concerned about the issues that most affect the British people that we have improved hospitals and schools, that we have ensured that there are more jobs in the economy, and that is what we will continue to do.
She is allowed, while the Prime Minister's not here, to say the government is out of touch. He's gone to a meeting in a palace, so he's probably lost by now. And she is allowed to agree with the minister who said the government was out of touch. But she has acknowledged, and I thank her for that people are apprehensive about the situation. But 2 months ago, she wrote in her blog, "There was no sense at all of concern or insecurity over the economy. People are not worried about their own prospects in 2008. So does she now want to update that statement in the light of what she just said and say that people are now apprehensive and that they are feeling insecure and that the government is out of touch?
Well, when I wrote that blog as part of my Harriet in the High Street listening... When I wrote that blog, having talked to people in Princess Street in Edinburgh, that's what people were saying to me. And I acknowledge, and we readily acknowledge, that since then the situation internationally has become more turbulent and people's concerns are raised. So we have to be ever vigilant and make sure that we keep the economy strong through difficult international times in a way that their previous government wasn't. And as far as his jokes are concerned, normally people used to say about him, great jokes, poor judgment. But I have to say, on today's performance, he should be worrying about his income as an after-dinner speaker.
I won't ever be accusing the Right Honourable Lady of being all jokes, Mr. Speaker, so we needn't worry about that. But hasn't she just given a demonstration of how out of touch the government has become? 5 million families worse off this weekend, and the Prime Minister denies it. council tax has doubled as of this weekend. 300,000 small businesses worse off this weekend. And isn't the question the whole country is asking is why do we have to wait another 2 years to get rid of this discredited cabinet and have a change of government?